get a good. Okay.
Done. All right, so Simmer, once I go into this, now I won't be able to like see the chat and everything, so I'll leave that to you so you can manage all that good stuff.
Yes, I will watch the chat and let you know when there are questions.
Okay. So first of all, welcome everybody to the session today. I hope you're doing well. My name is Nathan McCullough, and I am an integrative nutritionist, holistic health coach. And tonight we're going to talk about the remarkable benefits of fasting. So for those of you who know me, I've been doing intermittent fasting every day for over 3 years. So it's something that I have done as kind of, it started off as kind of an experiment, and it's really become a way of life for me. So I'm very passionate about fasting and the overall benefits of fasting, and it's one of the things that I get asked about more than anything else whenever we do our online body love programs, or when we're talking to people. Fasting is something that always seems to come up, and so we decided that we would do some informational session and help people understand a little bit more about the basics. Okay, we're not going to go into a lot of depth about fasting because it's something that it's quite complicated in terms of what goes on inside of the body, but we wanted to do something that was very accessible so everybody can understand, what it is, what are the benefits, kind of how to do it, and then you can make, an informed just choice for yourself if it's something that you would like to explore. And then also for our friends over in Indonesia and around the world, this time of year is the Ramadan period. So fasting tends to be a little bit more on people's minds as well. And so we wanted to make that information available and help people understand why this method has been used for thousands and thousands of years, not just in Ramadan, but in almost every spiritual tradition. You have some sort of fasting process that's involved, and so we're going to go over the basics about fasting and what you can experience, or what you can expect, and how you can do it. So a little bit about me. I'm Nathan McCullough. I'm the founder of a company called Rising Phoenix Wellness. I'm an integrative nutritionist, a recovery coach, business mentor, and an entrepreneur. So my mission is to facilitate conversations that cause transformation in the lives of individuals and also in groups, and to help people become the best versions of themselves in health, wealth, and happiness. So for those of you who do know me, and for those of you who don't, a lot of the coaching and stuff that I do actually comes from a place of healing. So I've been on my own recovery journey and done a lot of self-healing, and used nutrition. I've used fasting. I've used a number of different things to help me recover from alcoholism and some issues with addiction that I had in my past. And so I've used a lot of these tools in my own life. So it's not just theory, right? When it comes to fasting and also health coaching and just helping people through transformations, it comes from a place of healing, and it comes from a place of personal experience. So the first thing that I want to talk about before we really get into the X's and O's about fasting is talk a little bit about where it comes from, and kind of the myths and the ideas that are surrounding it. So when I first started learning about nutrition, and I first started learning about how to live a healthy lifestyle, one of the things that we were taught was that this idea that you should eat 6 small meals throughout the day, so that you can always keep your metabolism going, so that your body never goes into a starvation mode. And so that's something that we learned. So we want to kind of look at what are myths and what are facts, right? So put in the chat box, what do you think about the idea that you should eat 6 small meals throughout the day? You think that's a myth or a fact?
So Apple says it's a myth, 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 myth. Everyone's saying myth.
Okay. So maybe this myth has been dispelled. So it is a myth, right? So the original idea was that you should eat 6 small meals throughout the day, every 2 to 3 hours, to prevent your metabolism from shutting down and prevent your body from going into what they call a starvation mode. But the reality about this is that there actually hasn't been any research that backs this theory up. So it was something that just kind of got into common parlance, and people started teaching this concept, but there hasn't been any peer-reviewed journals, any serious scientific studies that have shown the science behind that theory. And so when a lot of the research came out on fasting in about 2010, they started showing actually the opposite, and that this idea of starvation mode it's real. It does happen, right? So your body will start kicking into a stage where it starts preserving your fats and things like that, in case when it starts feeling like maybe a famine is coming, or you're going into war. It has an intelligent response where it can go to starvation mode to preserve your body composition. But that doesn't happen for between 3 and 4 days, not 3 and 4 hours. So what we actually shown was that if you are constantly eating, every time you eat, your body has an inflammatory response, right? It's an intelligent response from your body to help deal with the food that's going in, and your level of insulin rises every single time you consume a meal that has any sort of carbohydrate or any sugar like that. So if you're constantly eating, it also means that your insulin levels are chronically high. So what we want to talk about is something that has been used for, like we said, thousands of years. So if you think about the ability, our ancestors didn't have shopping corners, they didn't have grocery stores on every corner. They didn't have little quickie marts or gas stations that you can just pop into all of the time, where the food was just always readily available, right? In our genetic makeup was, for thousands of years, we would go through these cycles of going out hunting, gathering, bringing home all of the food, and then we would feast. There would be ceremonies, there would be dancing, all of that, and we would have periods of feast, and then there would be long periods of time where there was like no food. And so built into our biological makeup is this cyclical feasting and famine that was part of our way of being for a very, very long time. So when you look at an evolutionary approach to anything, what you're doing is you're looking at the genes that we have now are designed to survive in a particular world. And the modern world that we live in now is very different than the way that our genes have been sequenced for a very long time. So we have certain automatic responses in our body that are designed to keep us alive. And we have these intelligent responses in our body. So human beings are largely biological creatures that function evolutionarily, which means these genes that we have are literally hardwired to behave a particular way. And when we don't follow that genetic programming, there's a significant biological impact. And you can see right now the rise of chronic disease that's been happening around the world is largely created by, we're not following this way of living that our body is very used to. And because we're overfed and we're undernourished, our bodies are really reacting negatively biologically. And so fasting is actually one way to go back and kind of reconnect to our ancestral way of living. So we also want to talk a little bit about what blood sugar is and what glycogen is, and how your body actually creates energy and how it runs on energy, because this is something a lot of people don't really fully understand. So you have two main ways of getting energy. One is through sugar or glucose, or like glycogen. Glycogen are sugar stores that are in your liver and in your muscles. That's where your body stores glycogen. So there's two main ways of getting energy: sugar and fat is the easy way to understand it. And your body is always going to use sugar first, because it's much quicker acting like that. So if you have sugar stores in your body is always going to go and search and find those glycogen stores and use it for energy. And what that means is, if you go back to what we said before about if you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, 6 small meals throughout the day, you're always resupplying your body with more glycogen and more sugar. That means your body will never actually get to the fat and start burning fat. So you're literally, you will never get to the place where you're actually burning fat for fuel. Okay, and that's a significant problem, because when you have excess blood sugar, okay, and we'll talk about this in a minute, what happens is your body produces insulin so that it can take the excess blood sugar and actually put it into the liver and to the muscles. And if you don't use that, it actually converts into fat. So not only are you not burning fat, which is what you want to be doing, you're also storing all of that extra glucose as more fat in the body. And so what happens is there's a natural accumulation of fat over time. So fat adaptation it's exactly that. It's an adaptation. So it's your body is adapting to using fat instead of glucose. So ultimately, that's what you want to start training your body to do. But the problem is, it takes about 6 to 8 hours for your body to get rid of all of the glycogen stores in your body so that it can start using the fat as energy. Okay, so that fat adaptation, it takes at least 6 to 8 hours, which means you need to go between at least 6 to 8 hours of not putting any more food into your body in order to get to that place where your body's actually using fat as fuel. And if you can see there at the bottom, right, one thing to think about is think about how many hours that you sleep, right? This is kind of what we call biohacking, right? So if you sleep between 6 and 8 hours, okay, and if you think about that, that means if you're not consuming any food while you're sleeping, right? So that means every day you're waking up in a place where your body has already gone through all of its glycogen stores, and you're at a place where you can get into the fat burning zone. Okay, so what do we usually do as soon as we wake up? We eat food, right? And so right when you get into the fat burning zone, boom, we put in food, glucose goes into the system, we switch back out of burning fat and into burning sugar, and we've sort of missed out on that window where we could be burning fat. So if you only take away one thing today, I would love for you to take away the idea of metabolic flexibility and understand this concept. Hey, Simmer.
Yes.
In the top right hand corner of the slide, is the camera blocking any of the words?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There's like a gray patch there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
is that better?
that is much better.
Okay. Okay, so metabolic flexibility is really the ultimate goal. So you can get into metabolic flexibility basically means that your body becomes a fat burning machine. And it means that you have the ability to switch back and forth to adapt to different fuel sources, right? So your body is, you're training your body to make this switch from using glucose to fat. Okay, and it's not easy. I will tell you this: your body doesn't do that naturally. Okay, it's always going to use sugar first. So in order to get your body to use the fat stores, it's actually something that you have to train it to do. But once you have trained your body to be metabolically flexible, then you will be much healthier and your energy levels will be much more sustainable. Now, if you have a diet that focuses on one source of energy, which most people do, it's called a carb-centric diet, which means you're eating a lot of carbohydrates throughout the day, you will never become good at burning fat naturally. Okay, you can do things like exercising, which is going to help burn calories and kind of help in that process, but you will never naturally become good at burning fat because your body has not adapted to that process. Okay, from the time that you were young until now, my guess is that you've had a diet where you've been doing this and you've never actually trained your body to use fat efficiently. So this is where fasting actually comes in. So some of you may have heard of the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet is also one way of getting your body to adapt to using fat naturally. So the ketogenic diet is where you're only eating fat, you're not eating carbohydrates. And so that's probably the fastest, most efficient way to kick your body into prioritizing fat. But it also comes with some complications. It's not as easy. Okay, one of the reasons why I love intermittent fasting is because it's very simple. Okay, the concept of intermittent fasting is basically this: you consume food within a limited number of hours, right? We call that a feeding window. And then you abstain from eating or drinking most beverages during the other hours during the day. Okay, it's very simple. And like we said, this gets back into the cycle of kind of feasting and fasting, so that you're tapping into the evolutionary systems that are already in your body. And you're restricting your eating window. You're not necessarily restricting or counting calories. Now, calories being restricted is something that will probably be a natural byproduct of this process, simply because you're eating in less time. But it's not one of the focuses of intermittent fasting. So that's what makes it more of a lifestyle than a diet. Okay, you're not really obsessively focusing on the food as much as you're focusing on how you eat and when you eat. Okay, so in my mind, I love intermittent fasting because it's very easy to implement. You can essentially do what you're already doing in your lifestyle now. You're just restricting a feeding window. Okay, so a lot of proponents of the intermittent fasting way say that it's kind of a silver bullet approach for all kinds of different health goals. And then a lot of people are very dismissive of the approach because they think it's just a new fad that's coming up, or they say it's a starvation diet. It's definitely not a starvation diet, and it's definitely not a fad. It's been something that's been used for thousands and thousands of years. It's just that starting in 2010 and really ramping up now. So you're probably all hearing a lot more information about fasting now. It's because they're starting to really start doing a lot of clinical research, and a lot of the clinical research and things like that are just starting to come out now, because it takes time to do those things. In order to do empirical studies, you have to follow people for long periods of time. And so a lot of that research is coming out right now, and it's very, very, very exciting. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of how it works. Okay, so your pancreas's most powerful hormone is called insulin. Okay, and your body releases insulin every time that you eat. Okay, you've all probably heard of insulin. So let's talk a little bit about what insulin is and how this works, right? So insulin is a fat storage hormone. And what that means is when the hormones are ways that your body communicates with itself. Let's put it that way. So insulin is a message that gets sent from your body to your brain that it needs to store fat. Okay. And this is a very natural process. It's a very important process for being able to stay alive in the past. Okay. We don't really have that problem now, because most people have to worry more about eating too much than starving, right? But that is an adaptive response by your body. Okay. So when insulin is high, especially if it's high chronically, then the message that you need to hold on to fat is constantly there. Okay. So, but the inverse always is also true. So if you aren't eating for long periods of time, what happens is your blood glucose levels can lower. Okay. They can become stabilized, and you can actually reduce the level of insulin in your body so that you can then start burning fat as energy. Okay. So when insulin is low, the communication to the brain is that it's okay now to start releasing. It's okay now for you to start releasing fat and to burn your own fuel as energy, because your body feels like it's in a more relaxed state. When you have high levels of insulin, your body feels like it's under stress all of the time. Okay, so it's in like also like a chronic stress type of situation, and your body's very smart, right? So it knows when something is going on. It feels like environmentally there is a danger, and so it goes into this kind of scarcity type of mode, and it's going to hold on to anything that it feels like it might need in the long term if the problem stays around. So if you're in that stage chronically, it becomes a big problem. So what fasting can do is actually it can actually undo that process, and it can reduce insulin. So if your body is constantly reducing insulin because you're eating all of the time, what happens over time is you eat, right? Blood sugar goes up. Your body releases insulin to bring the blood sugar down, right? And then anything that goes up quickly comes down quickly. So you go into hypoglycemia, which means your blood sugar gets low, and it creates a craving, and it creates this desire to eat again. So most of us are living on these blood sugar roller coasters. And that is something that is happening all the time. So what happens to anything that happens all the time is blood sugar will spike, right? And then insulin will become ineffective over time, because your body will become ineffective at recognizing the insulin. So you have to over secrete insulin. And when your body becomes insensitive to insulin, now you have what they call metabolic disease or diabetes. And diabetes is sort of a gateway to all kinds of chronic diseases. So another reason why I'm very passionate about fasting is because if you can get good at reversing this process, you can keep insulin levels low. You can also keep your inflammation levels low, and you can start the healing process. So even if you have dealt with diabetes or chronically high levels of blood sugar, fasting is a really way to get that under control. Okay, so another way that we've known for a very long time that you can help your body to become more sensitive to insulin is through exercise. So exercise has long been a go-to method for helping with insulin sensitivity. And research has shown that intermittent fasting is another tool that you can use to help reduce insulin resistance, or to say that a different way, to help your body to be more sensitive to insulin by not having to release it all the time. Okay, so if you couple the two, so if you do fasted exercises, so let's say you wake up in the morning in a fasted state and you even go for a walk or a jog, or you do some sort of workout, and you're combining exercise and fasting, you're actually putting your body into a state where you're going to be able to reduce insulin resistance dramatically. Okay, so even if you were to, wake up in the morning and go for a walk right away in a fasted state, that is going to dramatically increase your body's sensitivity to insulin and help you a lot in that area. Now, the other thing to know about fasting, and this is something that I really love, is that fasting has been shown clinically to dramatically increase what we call HGH, or human growth hormone. And the human growth hormone, I can't go too much into this, but it's really a fascinating thing. Human growth hormone is also the hormone that is designed for anti-aging. So when human growth hormone levels are high, that means repair levels are high. It means that your body is staying younger longer. Okay, as we age, our human growth hormone levels go down, and so our ability to retain muscle goes down. And so if you can keep your human growth hormone levels high, that means that you can retain your muscle longer. And we know that one of the biggest side effects of aging is muscle reduction. And the more that your muscles reduce, the faster actually aging happens. So there's this interesting cycle where if you can keep your body composition, if you can keep your lean muscle mass longer, you will actually age slower. So this really amazing process. And the American College of Cardiology has shown that between 1,300% in women and 2,000 percent increase in men of human growth hormone in a fasted state. So it's amazing. Usually our bodies only produce human growth hormone when you're sleeping, when you're getting really, really good anabolic sleep. And so that's part of also why a lot of the research you've seen recently on sleep has been so critical, because they're showing that basically only when we sleep is repair happening. Well, I want to let you know that if you do fasting, it's not just while you're sleeping. While fasting is happening, you're also getting the repair mechanisms in your body. Okay, so when you're doing fasting, it's not really about counting calories. It's about controlling them. Okay, so most diets that you see are all about aiming at what you eat and restricting calories. Okay, but they don't really focus on when you eat and how often you eat and how you eat. Okay, so in intermittent fasting, the focus is very different. Okay, so along with rebuilding your body's healthy response to insulin, intermittent fasting can also help you limit calories, which is really the basis of most weight loss techniques that are out there, right? So intermittent fasting can help you burn more calories than you can take in, and it can also help you naturally reduce them. So you don't have to count calories, because your lifestyle will naturally be in one in which you're consuming less calories, and you're also going to be much more efficiently burning them. So it really is the perfect storm of being able to deal with the whole calories issue. Because the reality is, weight loss is in a large part has to do with how many calories you're consuming versus calories in, calories out. There is a lot of truth to that. So don't let people tell you with their fancy weight loss theories that is a debunked theory. It's not a debunked theory. It is the way. It is the foundation. So, but what we like to do is get a little bit more creative. Instead of obsessing over food and counting calories, you can just have a lifestyle like this, and it becomes much more efficient and effective. So now we want to go into some of the benefits of fasting. Okay, so we're going to go over some of the key benefits. We're not going to go into depth in this. Okay, this is more of just kind of an introduction to fasting. We will, we are doing a program that's coming up soon where you can, if you do want to learn more about this, we'll sort of do we'll do some deep dives in this. Let's go over
Nathan,
the basics. Okay, so the first one is weight loss. Okay, a lot of people that get introduced to intermittent fasting, their primary goal is is weight loss, right? So this is the primary goal of a lot of intermittent fasters. And there's a lot of evidence and a lot of testimonials that back up this benefit. Okay, but it's not a quick fix. Okay, so we're not big fans of anything that is quick fix, in nature. Okay, what we want to do is create healthy lifestyle habits that create sustainable and manageable relationship to weight. Okay, anything that goes away quickly often comes back quickly, and it comes back with vengeance, right? So if you guys have ever done any kind of yo-yo dieting where you lose a lot, it often is followed by periods of not only gaining that back, but actually making it worse. So intermittent fasting is a great way of actually training your body to become a fat burning machine so that it can sustain that long term. So it is true that long-term reduced calorie intake can lower your insulin levels and help you manage weight. There's no doubt about that. But achieving the amount of weight that you want may not happen immediately. Okay. Now, that being said, intermittent fasting is a great way to speed up weight loss. There's no doubt about that. Okay. But I just want to really emphasize that it's not a lose weight fast mentality, right? It's about creating a lifestyle. So we did touch on this fat burning. So when you're fasted to the point of having no glycogen stores or no sugar left in your body turns into a fat burning machine, really. And this change of fuel is important for weight loss and altering your body composition, right? Because it supports your overall wellness, from everything from cardiovascular health to optimal sleep. I will tell you that getting better levels of sleep are also a significant side effect of intermittent fasting, because generally you're going to stop eating somewhere around 8 p.m. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see people make with their health and wellness in general is they eat too late and they go to bed with food in their system, and your body does not shut down and go to sleep fully until your digestion has turned off. The digestion takes more energy than any system in your whole body. So if digestion is on, just always remember this: if digestion is on, repair cannot happen. So and remember, you only get into that repair cycle when your body has shut down and you're in what they call anabolic sleep. Anabolic, it means repair. So you're in that sort of deep restorative and reparative sleep. Okay, if you go to bed with food in your system, you have to wait until all of that is burnt, and then in order to get really restful sleep. So if you're waking up in the morning feeling a little bit lethargic or sluggish, you might want to consider that you're eating too late and you're not sleeping effectively. I should put that as one of the other benefits of fasting in here. So the third one is support for metabolic health. Okay, this is something that I feel is really, really important, because diabetes is really becoming an epidemic. Okay, I know that everybody's talking about the pandemic and all that stuff that's happening, and it's very, very rightfully so. But when the pandemic is gone, I can promise you that diabetes is going nowhere. This is an epidemic like we haven't seen before. And diabetes they call it the mother of all diseases, because when you have diabetes, you have chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is the doorway basically to all other diseases. So the faster and the sooner that you can repair your metabolic health, the healthier that you're going to be. So like we said, studies have suggested that intermittent fasting can help support more normal insulin sensitivity. And that means evidence has pointed to that periods of fasting can help maintain insulin levels and support healthy blood sugar outcomes. Okay, so if you can use this as a lifestyle, you can repair a lot of the damage that has been done over time of having elevated blood sugar levels. Okay, and we said this earlier, but insulin is a fat storage hormone, right? So when you lower insulin, you reduce the risk for metabolic disease, and that triggers the natural release of fat stores. So just keep that in mind. If you can find a lifestyle which helps you keep lower insulin levels, you can train your body to use insulin more effectively, and you can actually reverse diabetes if you're in that type of situation, or you can prevent it if you're in a sort of pre-diabetic state. Okay, so the fourth one is also extremely important, and that is something called autophagy or autophagy. And when you're fasting, it triggers something called autophagy. So when people choose to fast for non-weight loss reasons, it's usually tied to this autophagy, which is a cellular process that helps your body clean up and manage any dead cells or under functioning cells. When your body goes into a fasting state, it needs to pull energy and things from other areas. And so what happens when you're in a state where you're eating regularly, right? Your body's got these cells that are splitting off and multiplying all the time. A lot of that leads to cancers and different things as well, right? When you're in a fasted state, instead of the cells duplicating and splitting off and making new cells, your body actually goes into more of a repair response. So what happens is, instead of your cells multiplying, your cells will actually start killing off inefficient cells and using the parts of those cells that were working well to fortify the cells that it already has. So it's kind of like an evolutionary response where they say only the strong survive. It's the same thing at a cellular level. Your body will start literally breaking down inefficient cells and then getting rid of everything that's not being used. That's called a detoxification, right? And then making new cells out of the old ones, or using those parts and fortifying the cells that it actually has. So your body actually becomes much more cellularly efficient. It's really amazing process. So for a variety of reasons, or for a variety of stressors, environmental, nutritional, and fasting, prompt your cells to basically take out the trash, right? That's the detoxification part. And it's a recycling program for damaged proteins that helps support optimal cellular health, right? So think about why we do recycling, right? We use things in our life, we don't need them anymore. So instead of just putting them in the dump, right, we can actually recycle them. It helps our communities. If we live in safer environments, we live in cleaner environments, right? That's why we all should be recycling, right? And it's the same thing in our own bodies and our health, right? If we're recycling our cells and we're going through this renewal process, our body becomes, our immunity levels get better. Our body becomes much more well-functioning machines, and we can prevent serious diseases, cancers, different things like that have been shown to be able to be prevented by the processes in fasting. Another one is cognitive function. Okay, so your brain burns a lot of calories, right? But that doesn't mean that that fasting is going to dampen your cognitive ability. Okay, it's actually the total opposite. When you're doing so intermittent fasting has ties to many brain benefits, from clear thinking to memory to help the protection and support for neural growth. And it also slows down the neural depreciation over time, or degeneration over time. So sugar, let me put it this way. Sugar is a non-efficient and kind of a dirty energy source. And so if your body becomes addicted to using sugar all the time, your brain does need glucose. Don't get me wrong. Okay. So I'm not saying sugar is bad all the time. There's a reason why, our body uses sugar, and it's good for cognitive function. But fat, when your body switches away from sugar, it starts making something called ketones. So if you've probably heard of the ketogenic diet, the ketogenic diet is this is where it comes in. Ketones are what your body produces when there's no sugar stores. It's a much cleaner, slower burning energy source. Okay. Your brain is also like 70% fat, right? So if you're getting good from good fat sources, it's actually fueling your brain as well. And if you get to the point where your body is very efficient at producing ketones, you're going to really increase your mental capacity and your cognitive function as well, and you're going to slow down the mental degeneration process. Right, a lot of studies have shown that actually dementia, Alzheimer's, these things like this are type 3 diabetes, right? So type 1 is, you're kind of born with it. Type 2 you develop over time through the process that we've been talking about, and they're showing that type 3 is actually what happens to the brain long term when we're in this constant this state of having increased insulin. So as we go through this process, it also helps with cognitive function as well. So when you're fasting, once you get through the first couple of days, which might be a little bit difficult, you're going to feel a dramatic increase in energy, and you're going to feel a significant clarity of thought. And then the other part of the cognitive function is what they call BDNF. So BDNF is a protein that promotes the growth of neural connections. So this is a lot of science is coming out about this now. And so when you have high levels of what they call brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a fancy way of saying that your body is actually building new connections. So not just slowing down the degeneration of the connections, but actually what they call brain plasticity. So your body is actually building new connections. And the amount of BDNF has been shown to go up by 400 times in the studies that we've done on mice, which means with that BDNF being dramatically higher, it means that your brain is functioning better. And it is possible, okay, I can't say this definitively, but it is possible that we can kind of get to a state where our cognitive functions are not breaking down as we age. At the very least, it will break down less quickly. Right. So this is something that's also a byproduct of fasting as well. So if you're interested in having superior cognitive function, I would seriously look at fasting. It's a great way of doing that. And then one of the more holistic things about fasting, okay, I'm not going to go into this a lot today. In our Body Love program, we actually have a whole section on the spiritual components of fasting, because when you fast, there is something that happens where you kind of slow down a little bit and you gain a much more empowered relationship to food, right? So a lot of times when you diet, it makes you almost kind of obsess about food, and you're counting calories, and there's almost a fear involved in what you're doing. Whereas with fasting, you get a little bit of, you create a little bit of emotional space to food, right? And you can really start discovering what you're really hungry for. And when you only eat a limited amount of food during the day, you start taking more seriously what you are eating. So it helps you create more of a healthy focus and in a relationship to making sure that you're getting very nutrient dense food that's giving you the nutrients that you need, instead of having the relationship that we have to food a lot of times, which we're just kind of grabbing every time we feel, a little bit restless, or maybe we're feeling anxious or feeling a little bit depressed or things like that. Oftentimes we just reach for food as a comfort. And so the fasting process can really help cultivate mindfulness and this relationship with your body. And it will help you discover what I call your authentic hunger. And what that means is, when you're in this constant state of having hunger cravings because your blood sugar is up and down, you don't actually know when you're hungry. You're just eating all the time as a response to cravings when your blood sugar goes low. And so intermittent fasting will help you discover when you're authentically hungry, when you have authentic hunger versus a hunger craving. And then also fasting there's no judgment involved with the food choices, right? So because fasting works so well, if you do have a slip up, or you just choose to eat something that you want to eat, right, there's less of a metabolic impact. Okay. And so there's a little bit more of there's more of a relaxed relationship to to food. And so fasting can really help you connect to your body, and it helps you listen to your hormonal signals about food. So when you're hungry and when you're full. Okay, so this is something that it's an aspect of fasting that it kind of takes a little bit of time, because you have to kind of get used to what you're doing with the fasting. But when it becomes a lifestyle, it really opens up this space where you can start to get present to and notice when you're truly hungry and what you're actually hungry for. So journaling, something like that, is a great way when you're doing fasting to start creating, increasing that mindfulness and discovering that for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go over this briefly. There's so many different ways of fasting that are out there. I'm going to mention basically two, because they're the ones that I believe that are the most effective. Okay, you can look at, basically fasting is just a separation between when you're eating, a feeding window, right, and a fasting window. Easiest way to think about it. So some of the common ratios that people use are 16 to 8, 18 to 6, and 20 to 4. And the first number is the number of hours that you're fasting in the day. The second number is your eating window. Okay, so a 16-8 is what I generally use. That means you're fasting for 16 hours and you're eating for 8 hours. Okay, so a typical window would be sort of 12 to 8 p.m. After 8 p.m., you stop eating. So, there's a few hours before you go to bed. Let's say 2 hours before you go to bed, you sleep for 8 hours. That's 10 hours already, right? That means that from when you wake up in the morning, you just wait another 6 hours, generally skip breakfast. And then your first meal of the day would be lunch. Something very simple like that. You can have your coffee in the morning. Okay, so you can have tea, water, coffee, things like that, and that won't break your fast. So anything that doesn't increase, anything that doesn't spike insulin won't technically break your fast. So if you're like Nandy, you've been working with me for a while, I do something called a bulletproof coffee, which is basically a black coffee that has a little bit of butter, a little bit of MCT oil. You can blend that up, and it tastes delicious. And you're not using cream. So you're using a little bit of butter, a little bit of MCT oil, you blend it up. It tastes just like a latte. And you can drink that in the morning. The fat helps satiate your brain. It helps reduce any hunger cravings. And then you can have your first meal at lunch. So I recommend 16-hour fast for people that are just beginning. You really have to do at least 14 hours. The autophagy and a lot of the self-cleaning doesn't really kick in till between that sort of 14 and 16-hour window. So if you do anything less, you can get the weight loss benefits, but you're not going to get the sort of deeper cleansing benefits. The other one, when it comes to Ramadan, right, typically we recommend at least 16 hours of fasting, right, with the overnight, because it's easier, right, because you're asleep for half the time. However, a lot of cultures have done fasting during the daylight hours, and it works just as well. It works exactly the same way. It just requires a little bit more discipline, right? Because when you're awake, it's a little bit harder to fast than when you're asleep. But in Ramadan, this is something they've been doing for thousands of years. The principles are the same. Really, one of the things that I will stress, we're not going to go into it today, but if you guys do want to do the Body Love program where we're going to teach more in depth about fasting, how you break your fast is super important. Okay. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen after living in Indonesia for the last 5-6 years is that when people do break their fast, a lot of times, because they're hungry, they're eating cakes and things that are high glycemic, high sugary foods, and you really undo a lot of the good that was done. So we'll teach you kind of how to open your eating window in a way where you can kind of gently move into the refeeding process. That's a really critical component. Okay, the other form of fasting is what we call alternative day fasting. Okay, and this is a lot of times we'll recommend these for women because we have different hormonal systems. It's often a good idea for women to do alternative day fasting until their bodies have become adapted to that switch, the metabolic switch, because it has been shown to have some effect on thyroid function. So Deep and Simmer actually had this experience before. If you do the fasting too quickly, it can affect your hormonal health. So it's super healthy. So you don't have to worry about anything. There's nothing wrong with fasting for women. It's just recommended. Do an alternative day approach in the beginning to help you in the process. And then prolonged fasting is something I'm fascinated by, and I wouldn't recommend this right away. Okay. You can look at prolonged fasting once your body has adapted to the use of fat as energy and gone through the process. But prolonged fasting is anything where you do fasting over 36 to 48 hours. And the studies show really mind-boggling results when people do prolonged fasts. Once you hit that, like I said, that 16-hour window, that's when the autophagy and the cellular repair, your body can start producing its own stem cells, things like that. That's when that kicks in. So really, the longer that you do fasting, the more of that deeper cleanse and the more of the repair that you get. So if you do a longer fast, like I just did a 7-day fast a couple of weeks ago with just bone broth, essentially. And when you go through that process, you can get your inflammation markers down to almost none. So you can really wipe out a lot of the things that cause chronic disease through doing some of this longer fasting. Now, this should be done with caution, and you should do it under the supervision of either a health professional or someone that's been doing fasting for a very long time, or preferably both. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you're monitoring your blood sugar levels and things like that. But prolonged fasting, there's no doubt, you can do a lot of healing with the prolonged fasting. Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit. We're going to touch on some nutrition for fasting. Okay, when you're doing a fasting process, I really recommend that you have some sort of supplements along the way to help you. So, like a fiber supplement, things like digestive enzymes can help in the process. Multivitamin is something that would be really helpful. A liver support product to help with the detoxification process. When you do fasting, it is like super detox. And so you are going to be getting rid of a lot of the nasty stuff that's been in your system for a long time. So really great to have some support there for your liver, because it's going to be probably working a little bit over time. And then probiotics. When you're doing fasting, it's a great time to start rebuilding your micro gut flora, right? You have good bacteria in your gut, and when you're eating all the time, it's just constantly overwhelming your system. And a lot of times, if you're eating glutinous foods or a lot of dairy, you're eating a lot of sugar, these things that are very high in inflammation, you're really destroying a lot of the beneficial bacteria that gives you the serotonin that you need to be happy, the insulin, or sorry, your immune function is largely produced by the good bacteria in your gut. So when you're fasting, it will help to really grow a healthy garden of microbiome or gut bacteria. And it's a great time to take probiotics as well, because you can really rebuild that great microbiome, positive gut bacteria. And when you do that, your immune system will be significantly strengthened. Okay, so we're just going to finish up on, I'll introduce to you guys the Body Love program. So this is a 28-day program that we have created. We do about 4 times a year, and we have one starting on April 11th. And it's a completely online program that is run mostly by myself and Deep and Simmer. And then we have coaches like Apple and Dan and Bhavna and some of the other people that are on the call. We have coaches that work with us to help support the people that are in the program. But you get meal plans, you get a Facebook community, workout plans. We're incorporating a lot of yoga, breath work, So it's really a 28-day comprehensive program that is designed to help you move and create healthier lifestyle habits. Now, the one that we're starting on April is going to be focused on fasting. So it's going to be a Body Love, basically a fasting program. And it's going to be a deeper dive into a lot of the topics that we talked about today. I got a couple of videos. They're short videos, maybe 5-10 minute videos a couple of times a week that will come out, and it'll go into a little bit more depth about how fasting works, how to do it in a way where you can get the most out of it, how to refeed or open your fast, break your fast, and make sure that you're doing it and getting the most out of it. So yeah, we have meal plans. We have basically the only thing that you have to do. So the whole platform itself is free. The coaching is free. The community is free. So you just get one of the nutrition kits. That's how you get your entry into the Body Love program. So just get one of the nutrition kits from whoever invited you, and that gets you everything. It gets you the meal plans, the workouts, the video modules. It gets you you're going to get a coach or someone to work with you as you go through the program. Okay, you can see there's like $2,000 worth of value in the program itself. You're going to get, it's basically 4 weeks. We go through different modules throughout the program. And the kit that you get is basically 28-day supply of the products that are going to help you specifically in the fasting regime. So your fibers, your digestive enzymes, your multivitamins, probably your omega-3s, things that really will support you in the fasting process. And then you get lifetime access to the program. So every time we do it, like 4 times a year, every time we do it, once you've become a member of the Body Love community, you can do it with us anytime you want. So currently the Body Love program is available now with the nutrition kit, and it's very beneficial because you not only get the health products, but you also get the 4-week program for free. And like I said, we're going to be starting on April 11th. So you have time to get your products and everything ordered now and prepared. So you can reach out to whoever invited you and ask them about the kits that we have. We do have different kits based on what some of your goals are, for people that, and also depending on what market you're in. If you're in the US and some of our markets where we have the shakes and the different healthy foods, we actually just launched a new active nutrition line last night. So we have a whole new range of healthy foods, digestive products that have come out. So depending on what your market are in, just ask the person who invited you here about the kit that it takes to get involved, and that's really all you have to do. So how it works is you get the kit, you register on bodylove.com, and you choose your nutrition kit, and then you're going to get an email a welcome email, and just respond back to the email with letting them know that you got your kit, and you start. You're going to get you get access to like an online module-based program where you can go in and you can access the videos and the exercise videos and the yoga videos. There's Pilates, there's like I said, there's meditation, there's breath work, there's all that stuff is in there. You literally just log in, and there's a whole back office, and then you have the program for life. So this is, if you guys want to connect with me and ask me anything about health in general or fasting specifically, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, and you can also, risingphoenixwellness.org is the website. All right, so that is the basic information. So I don't know if we had, I see there's 57 things in the chat box there. So if we want to go over questions quickly, we can go over those.
Can you hear me, Nathan?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Okay.
Sorry, my volume was just low and it's a little bit choppy.
Okay. So we do have quite a few questions. Should I just shoot through them?
Yes.
Okay. So how long should someone that has diabetes fast?
Okay, that's a really, really great question. And thank you so much for asking that because I didn't touch on it. So someone that has diabetes already, they should go slower. Probably start with like maybe 14 hours and then work their way in. Because the one of the issues is if you have chronically low blood levels of blood sugar, you just have to be careful in this process, right? Because it will naturally also tend to reduce your blood sugar as you're in the healing process. So if you already have diabetes, start with less hours, 12, 14, something like that, and then slowly work your way into the longer fasts. But definitely do it because I can't make any promises, but we've worked with a lot of people. Let's say this, they had diabetes, we worked together, they didn't have it after that. So you can definitely heal.
Great. And so what type of workout is good? Like, is there a particular type of workout that is better than the others during fasting?
Yeah. So I'll give you two answers. One is that the ideal form of workout would actually be high intensity interval training, because that's going to help you maximize the results. The reality is, if you're new in fasting, you might want to just slow down in general in life, right? And take it, slow down a little bit more, maybe get some massages, because you're going to go through a detox process. You might feel a little bit of reduction in energy in the beginning as well. So anything from if you do a brisk walk in the morning every day, that's fine. Yoga, things like that are really good. So the optimal would be, if you're physically fit and you're up for it, high intensity interval training is going to be the most advantageous.
Great. So the next question is, what liquids are we permitted to have during intermittent fasting? For example, tap water, ionized alkaline water, green tea. So should we keep ourselves hydrated?
Yes, for sure. 1,000,000%. First of all, you should always keep yourself hydrated. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make. But in this process, definitely, because remember, anytime you have a lot of detoxification going on, there's only a few ways for your body to get rid of toxins, right? And if you're not hydrated enough, then it will try to start getting out in your sweat. And if you're not sweating, you're going to get headaches, things like that. So you do want to make sure that you're staying extra hydrated so that you're flushing the toxins that are being released out of your system effectively. Because remember, your body stores toxicity in fat. So as you become really good at burning fat, you're also going to release a lot of toxins, and so you want to make sure that you're releasing them effectively. So you should be having at least 3 liters of water every day.
Great. And what would you suggest to someone that's doing Ramadan fasting because they're not allowed to drink any liquids or anything during the fasting time?
Just do it as normal. I mean, the reality is, if you can do fasting without any liquids, they call it dry fasting. The results are significantly more. It's way more effective, but it's much more difficult. So if you're in the Ramadan type of situation and you're forced to do it without liquids, it's more effective. So what you want to focus on then is how to open your window, how to refeed properly, because that you want to have basically some sort of protein, some sort of vegetable, some sort of fat when you're refeeding. If it's possible to stay away from a lot of the carbohydrates right off the bat, it's better. If you're going to have carbs like rice, something like that, make sure that you're getting something protein to help lower the impact of the blood sugar spike right off the bat. Because if you go and you start binging on carbohydrates right after you break your fast, you're just gonna feel immediately sleepy.
Awesome. So would intermittent fasting help with ADHD, especially if it helps cognitive functions? Now, I'm not sure if this is being asked about a child or an adult, so I guess you can address both.
For sure. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that. Whether you're a child or an adult, ADD is, attention deficit is something that I've dealt with, my whole life, really. So like we said earlier, when you get really into this as a lifestyle, it's going to start optimizing your brain function for sure, and it will help you actually start slowing down a little bit and helping you be more mindful. And so the best way to think about how to work with someone who has quote unquote ADHD, I don't like to label things, but one is optimize brain function, right? So fish oils are great. Getting great beneficial fats, coconut oil, avocado, olive oil, things like beneficial fats will help with cognitive function, for sure. And then also the reduction of sugar. I can't say this enough. The reduction of sugar and simple carbohydrates that lead to this manic kind of experience is going to help anyone who struggles with focus. So the more you have fat, you're using fat as an energy source, and the less that you're using. Sugar is like a frenetic energy. Fat is like a slow burning, stable energy source. Think about it like wood, right? When you're building a fire, the little twigs burn up really quickly, right? And then the logs are the ones that sit on the fire for a long time and burn slowly. Sugar is like the little twigs. If you only have little twigs, they're just burning up like crazy, and you have to keep replacing the twigs. If you put a big fat log on there and you get it burning, it will burn for slowly for a long period of time. And same thing with your brain. If you are on sugar, you're going to be constantly needing like more sugar. If you're using fat as energy, you're going to be like that, much more focused, much more calm.
Omega-3s are very good for ADHD as well, right?
Yeah, 100%, 1,000,000%.
Okay, so can the next question is, can we have carbs during eating window?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't have to be obsessive. We want you to fast clean. There is a philosophy of fasting out there where people are like eating fried chicken, and they're eating, they just eat whatever they want because they feel like, well, I'm going to be fasting, so it doesn't matter. This is like really it's the wrong approach, right? So you want to eat clean, but you don't have to obsess. So if you want to have rice twice a day, a little bit with each meal, it's not a problem. Yeah, we don't want people becoming too obsessive about that. So yeah, you can have carbohydrates. Just introduce them slowly into your feeding window.
Great.
I would much rather, for example, if somebody's going to have, like, let's say they have rice, a protein, and some vegetables. Okay, it's a good way to break your fast. A bad way to break your fast is like sweet tea and biscuits. Right? Which unfortunately, I mean, we lived in Indonesia for a long time, right? It's like as soon as fasting time's over, you get these little boxes, and the little boxes, it's all sugar. So that's what you don't want to do. But yeah, carbohydrates are okay, and especially complex carbohydrates, things that it takes time for your body to break down.
So if you're doing intermittent fasting, when is the best time to take your supplements?
That's a good question as well. So I do take my supplements on an empty stomach in the morning. And it works fine. This is different for everybody. So you just have to experiment a little bit with this. If you have to wait into the afternoon to take your supplements with your afternoon meal, and then with your evening meal, that's fine. You can do that. I take my supplements in the morning, and you guys know me. I take like 10 products. I take them all on an empty stomach. I've never had a problem. It also matters the kind of supplements that you take, right? If the supplements that you take, if the quality is a little bit lower and they use fillers and binding agents, you cannot take them on an empty stomach. They'll cause you to like vomit. But if you have if you're taking USANA, for example, and the quality is very high, there's no fillers or binding agents, you generally you can take them on an empty stomach because it's just pure nutrition that you're consuming.
Awesome. So is it true that you're not breaking your fast if you're only eating 25 or 50 calories?
I don't know. It sounds like that question is very specifically coming from somewhere. My initial inclination is no. I mean, anytime you're consuming calories, that's going to be breaking your it's going to be breaking your fast. And it's also going to be, once you start consuming calories, you're going to continue to want to do that. The difference is, does it spike your insulin? Like if you take a little bit of butter and MCT oil as an example in your coffee in the morning, those are calories. So technically you wouldn't be fasting in that, in the scientific sense, but it's not going to break your fast if what you're looking for is you're still going to get the autophagy, you're still going to get the fat burning effect, but you can't take a calorie that's also going to spike insulin in any way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, the only calorie that I can think of is if you're going to take a spoonful of coconut oil, or if you're going to eat something that's a medium chain triglyceride, that's a pure fat. That would be the only thing that I can think of that would be worth doing. Or sometimes people take these ketones. You're just eating exogenous ketones. That could be something that could be really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is a 14-hour window okay if someone doesn't want to lose weight but just maintain?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would encourage the more the 16 hours at least. Let me put it this way. I don't do this for weight loss at all, right? But when you're feeding, you could actually eat a lot of calories. So you guys know, I mean, when I'm training for marathons and doing lots of extreme training, I still fast. It's just in the feeding window, I eat a lot of calories. So you can eat a lot of calories in the feeding window and fast, and you're not I'm not going to be losing a lot of weight. But what I'm looking for is actually the cellular repair. So if you want to do fasting for non-weight loss reasons, do the 16 hours, but just eat more calories during the feeding window. That way you're getting the advanced benefits from fasting without having the weight loss side of it. Does that make sense? So do the 16 hours, but increase your calories. That would be my recommendation.
Awesome. So what's the best first meal for diabetics if they are eating rice for breakfast at like 7 a.m. typically? Will MCT be a great option to consume for that with fiber G, fiber enzyme banana?
Definitely, for sure. So let me just make sure I'm getting the question correctly. So they usually eat at 7 a.m. with some sort of carbohydrate, and they want to move into doing fasting. So how would they make it to the noon meal effectively, given that they're used to eating in the morning? And then what is the first meal that they should eat? Is that the question?
Yeah, I think that is the question.
Okay, so I would definitely recommend, if you're used to eating in the morning, then definitely take some sort of they call it exogenous, which just means it comes from the outside, some sort of fat source in the morning to help with the hunger element. So like a bulletproof coffee would be fine. A spoonful of coconut oil, something like that would be helpful. So that would be a great way of doing that. And then your first meal, again, if you have diabetes, just make sure you're monitoring your blood sugar, right? You don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where you're gonna cause harm. So go slowly into this. But your first meal definitely should have some sort of a fat, a carbohydrate, and a protein. It should be balanced, but you want to have a carbohydrate because you don't want, if you're diabetic, you do need to monitor your blood sugar.
Hmm. Okay, so the last question is fasting for acidity. So what about people who have acidity problem?
People that have acidity problem, you will not have acidity problem very long after you're doing fasting. So it's going to help repair that process. Acidity generally comes from you're eating kind of the wrong foods too often, and you're getting, a lot of it comes from reflux. Your pH level of the stomach acid is low. That's generally a problem. A lot of times people are taking antacids, right? And which makes the problem worse, because a lot of the acidity, right? If you have acid reflux, what happens is your stomach acid is too low, right? And then you have like a little flap that's at the top of your digestive area, and that's the acidity is splashing up into your throat. So people take the acidity to neutralize the stomach acid, which actually makes the acid levels low, and it actually makes the problem worse long term. The best way to deal with this, lose weight. And then you can go off of the Prilosec or whatever it is that you're taking for the acidity issues. But it will naturally, those things will naturally correct as you go through the fasting process.
Great. And what about like if someone, when they are fasting, they tend to get a lot of acidity and it like gets worse?
My recommendation would be you can get in touch with me, because there's probably something else that's going on. So you can take, for example, take apple cider vinegar in the morning. If you're a diluted level of apple cider vinegar in the morning, can help increase the level of pH in the stomach. That could be something that would be helpful.
So will a protein shake help to improve the benefits in fasting?
Will a protein shake help with the benefits of fasting? So the protein shake, it depends on why you're taking it. So the protein shake will help, for example, if you have a protein shake and let's say you put the fiber in there, it's going to help you stay full longer, and so that you're actually getting a full meal without a lot of the calories. So it's always a good option, if you're going through the weight loss process, or if you're exercising and you want to refeed your muscles, the protein and things like that. So for sure it can help. Anytime you get clean protein sources, that's one of the best things that you can do. I mean, people are, generally speaking, they're not getting nearly enough protein. So I mean, I'm a firm believer that everybody should have a protein shake every day. So for sure, but there's nothing, I wouldn't say that it's more needed during the fasting process. But yeah, it's always a great option. Have a shake, throw in a banana, put some fruit in there, put some fiber G in there. I have a shake every day.
Yeah, Daniel said, can I have, okay, that's a question. Can I have eggs for lunch, first meal?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, eggs are great. I mean, you want to make sure that you're eating them with the yolk. And eggs are always a great option. Make sure you're getting, organic, you're getting good, high quality eggs. But yeah, the eggs are a great source of omega-3s, fatty. They're good fat source, good protein source. So just eat them with some sort of vegetable.
So there's another question. When do you have your shake?
I generally break my fast every day. I'm a creature of a creature of habit, but I usually break my fast every day with a juice. So I have beet juice. It's like beets, carrots, celery, ginger, lemon, apple, orange. It's like the same thing every day. But I will usually break my fast with that, and then I will generally have a shake maybe an hour or so later. And that's pretty much my lunch. And then I'll have a normal dinner meal. But I pretty much have a protein shake during the beginning of my fast every day. So I go juice, shake, and then I don't generally eat again until my regular dinner meal, which is usually carbohydrate, fat, protein.
Awesome. All right, I think that's it. We don't have any more questions.
Fantastic. Well, I will acknowledge that it's, we're about 90 minutes now. So thank you guys so much for all of the amazing questions. I hope I gave you a good introduction to what fasting is and have given you some sort of compelling case. And yeah, if you guys want to work with us, I really encourage you to look into the Body Love program. We have a lot of fun. The results that we get are amazing. And I can promise you that after working through this 28-day program, you will understand fasting like that, and it will become a lifestyle. I personally believe, I'll just put this disclaimer out there. I personally believe that fasting is the number one thing that anybody can do to increase the quality of their health, period. That's my personal opinion. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for your time and your attention. I hope you had fun. If you want anything, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and I can help you in any way that I can. And I hope to see you on the Body Love program. So love you guys, and we do these health talks every other Thursday. So stay connected to the Glamour and Purpose peeps, and we'll keep bringing you amazing value every other Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Simmer.
Bye.
Thanks,
Hello.
Nathan. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.